A continuation, like limit to how long we can record.
Yeah, I don't know.
So Randy was saying Google Meets also, or Google Meet, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I'd be interested to dink around with that and see what that does too.
all right. So, The Infinite Unknowns, episode one introduction. We just wanted to introduce this podcast that we're going to do. We chose the name The Infinite Unknowns in plural because of the vastness of the universe. If you stop and think of any, documentary on space, and then they do the zoom out, you realize that from molecules, everything that builds on that to create all the objects, and then the objects to create the planet, but then the vastness of space, because of the scope, the scale, the complexity of that vastness, we're largely unaware of what it is that we don't know. There's a finite amount that we do know about the world and the universe around us, but there's a lot of things that we don't even know that we don't know. Um, a lot of us fall into one of two categories. Some people in both, but you'll find some people are extremely knowledgeable in one specific area or a few specific areas. You'll find other people that um, know a lot of things. I'm sorry, few things in a lot of areas. So, you either have like a jack of all trades, or you'll have somebody that's pretty specific in their craft, in their trade, in their industry that would be able to give a higher level um, breakdown of the world around them. So, we wanted to do a podcast about everything. Somebody was asking me what genre we wanted our podcast to be when we were talking about it, putting it together. And I didn't want it to focus, strictly on food, strictly on music, strictly on parenting or whatever. So I thought like lifestyle. If we talk about just our lives as a whole, everything that we experience, everything that we endure, the struggles we go through, the challenges that are presented, things that we have to overcome, things we enjoy, things we struggle with on a daily basis, just everything, because everybody on the planet in some form has that. We have similar problems, but individually, they're all specific to whatever decisions and choices we make in our life. So we just wanted to be able to talk about our stories so that we could help people, see things from our perspective, um, but also generate ideas on solving common problems or problems that maybe Jason and I haven't experienced that other people have experienced that could help us and through us help other people. Um, we grew up in a generation as Gen Xers that you don't talk about things. You're seen, you're not heard. You're you have these well, not necessarily taboo subjects, but there were just some things you don't discuss with your parents. There were some things you don't discuss with, you know, adult figures per se. So, did we get shortchanged, or did we end up experiencing more difficult things as a result of that lack of communication with people who had already been there, who could have said, "Hey, watch your head on this little dink or dunk right there because it could get you,"
It'll
So,
give you a real dinker dunk.
yeah, the fact that we weren't having discussions about a lot of things, that's one of the reasons that we wanted to do this. Showing other people that they're not alone in their struggles. Struggles are not unique. Um, Oftentimes, a lot of people, especially I've noticed people with a real negative mindset or a negative outlook on life, a negative perspective, will tend to think I'm the only one that's going through this. I'm the only one who's ever been through this. I'm the only, the kind of why me mentality. But that's one of the commonalities of life is struggle. and the process of struggling and learning how to handle it. And I don't remember as a kid, I just tried to be happy. I wasn't thinking about how am I going to get through these hard things? What lessons am I learning from my parents that they're trying to teach me about facing difficult situations? I was all focused on happy and fun for, until life got real, until you had to start making decisions for yourself. So I didn't really think, um, what tools do I have in the bag? And I think that's where, you know, we'll talk about it a little later, but the whole drum corps thing started shaping that mindset that you need to
Hmm.
have tools in your bag because what are you going to do when the shit hits the fan? What are you going to do when you face some real serious adversity and your first instinct is to buckle because that's all you know?
Yeah.
I've met people like that out there. So, helping other people realize what you're going through is unique to you, but not unique to us as a whole, because we all had to figure out how we're going to get through the struggle, make a decision, and then stick with whatever choice you made. There's consequences to everything. So, um, everybody has experienced detriment or some kind of trauma in their lives. How can we help others navigate similar life struggles? So there's things that I'm sure you've been through, Jay, possibly things that we haven't talked about in the past, definitely things that I've been through. And everybody has been through life events where they thought, what happens next? Like, I literally don't know how to move forward from this. Everybody's been through something like that. And if, people haven't, that first time is a doozy
Yeah.
because it's just like a kick straight to the stomach, a kick in the face.
Yeah, dude.
And especially if you weren't expecting it, getting hit in the face when you weren't expecting it,
Blindsided.
something dropping on your head, getting blindsided like that.
You know what that reminds me of?
What's that?
Did you ever watch so you grew up in the NFL era of like Lawrence Taylor? Remember Lawrence
Mhm.
Taylor, the
Mm,
linebacker for the Giants? Well,
yeah.
they had a special on him, and when they highlight some of his hits, that old fella had some blind sides, buddy.
Yeah.
Do
Oh,
you
it hurt.
you don't sleep on LT, buddy.
Was it
So sometimes
was it
Lawrence Taylor can you get Lawrence Taylored in your life.
yeah. And was it Mark Rippon with the Redskins that he like put out of playing football forever? The way he hit him? I don't remember if that's the one, but
I don't
yeah,
know.
dude, that was rough, and that's exactly it. Everybody has taken a hit like that in their life that they can say this was something that changed me.
Yeah.
You didn't have an option from there. You had to change. You had to change. Your life wasn't going to change, and you would keep living that hell every day. So, um, make life experiences available to others to educate and help them. I think a lot of times we don't realize what we could do to help somebody else. And part of that too is that we don't get involved with other people's lives. You know what I mean? Like, Jason, if you want to share something with me, we've been friends long enough that, it's okay. Get everybody else out of the room and let me know what's going on.
Hmm.
But we don't realize that somebody may have the answer. Somebody may have seen something similar that could help you out. We don't know about it because we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
You know,
There's probably
um,
some people that feel like also they don't have anybody to talk to.
yeah, that's one of those things that how do you? We tell people to confide in somebody. What if you have nobody to confide in? What if you were either estranged as a kid, alienated as a kid, or just not socially acclimated to be able to talk to other people, that now you're in a position as an adult that it's difficult for you to talk to other people. It's
100%.
difficult for you to approach somebody else, much less to start spilling your guts saying, hey, here's something difficult that I'm going through. I need your help,
Yeah.
you know? So this was something fun and exciting that I would like to do down the road and just let it kind of happen organically and see where it goes is gathering input and experience from field uh, and industry experts on different helpful subjects. So Jason and I, before we started recording this, was there are people that we could bring in who maybe neither of us have any experience in that field, but this person has done it longer than 10 years to be able to tell you which way is up. This is how the cow ate the cabbage. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, Teaching us what they've learned over their lifetime and how it's been different with the background that they have in that specialty area, I thought would be a fun thing to do. And then that's where I made the comment about anybody who has spent, I would normally say 10 years. Even 7 years doing something consistently is a long time. Even 5 years is a lot. But I
It's a
say
good run.
when somebody has spent 10 years in there studying, failing, trying, innovating in this particular area, it does something when it comes time to help other people because you just have this vast array of tools and you see all these people having aha moments when you start showing them your tool bag, you know? So
Hey, hey, don't be showing people your tool bag.
the 5-year old in me that just said that was like tool bag. Oh, you idiot.
Honey, put your
Uh
tool bag away. But I want to
so,
show them.
but look at it. So yeah, with people having that kind of experience or that level of experience to be able to share with us, difficulties that they have had getting to that point. What struggles have you had to overcome? What useful things, come out of that wealth of knowledge to help other people face the hardships or the uh, those moments where you think you don't know how to move forward. There's always something in there for us.
You know what this brings
Um,
up in my mind, real
what's
quick,
that?
Daniel? Is it's now you've you know the proverbial the rope in gym class that's connected
Right.
to the ceiling. We never had that. I never did the rope up to the gym class, but I understand the concept of it.
Yeah.
But it seems like in this scenario that we talk about, it's almost like when we're talking about these industry experts, the industry experts are the ones that have latched onto the rope and
Yeah.
they've climbed and they're up to a certain point when people that are in line trying to go up that same rope grab on that first latch
And forget to
and
lace it in their feet below them.
they forget to lace it. They're not strong enough to take the next rung up.
Or they're
They're
afraid to
they're
let
not
go to
they're
try to
afraid
take
to
the
let
next
go.
one up.
They're not as scaled up the rope as the industry expert who has put the work in and face the difficulty to get as high as they are. And maybe it's on the industry expert to give those people down low some pointers
Right.
of what their first positioning needs to be to get up the
Right.
rope with them.
Here's how I get started.
Here's how
Here's
we
the
start
first
it.
three things that I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So the industry experts I think will be a fun one because it doesn't necessarily have to be like a formal thing. You know what I mean? There's three or four people I can think of offhand that I want to bring on just to pick their brain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Find 10 questions we want to ask them. You ask five, I'll ask five, and we can just have fun with it. I think it'll be great.
I think so too.
Um, the next reason we wanted to do this, the medium for communication consistent with the evolution of communication. So when I was thinking, just kind of trying to figure this whole thing out, what I thought about was back in the day, even primitively, you had to figure out a way to communicate with other groups because, you know, you're not the only ones out there. So how do you do that over large scales? Well, then they, used to send letters back in the day. Um, they figured out the telegraph, how to do it electronically. Then
Morse code.
then we went to writing letters, typing letters, telephone communication. Then we started text messaging and instant messaging. Even the early Yahoo Messenger, AOL,
Dial up.
all that good stuff. And then after that, to today that I can find Jay instantly. I've got a buddy who's out of the country right now. Send him a message. I know he's sleeping right now, but I can send him a message right now and in 5 seconds have a response. So that's
Mm.
what this has evolved to. It made me think for Gen Xers like us, I'm not too into podcasts. I wasn't too into podcasts. I know that there's what is it, Two Bears, One Cave? There's the
Yeah.
one with Bobby Lee and
Santino.
Andrew Santino. That there's, and then it caused me to pause and think. And I said, why couldn't Jason and I do this? We talk, like Jason's one of the ones that I usually try to call on the weekends, and maybe not every weekend, but if there's a consistent phone call that gets made every certain so often, is to Jason just to see how he's doing. And I like talking to the guy. So um, he always makes time. And I thought, what if we just start recording that? What if we put a little effort to put some structure in it and kind of shape it into a conversation that we can rope other people in? Because there's a lot of people that I've wanted to introduce Jason to that when you're passing through, I wasn't here. We miss each other. You've got something going on. I've got something going on. And people in my circle have never gotten to meet Jason. There's a couple that have, but there's not a whole lot of people in my circle that I feel could benefit from knowing somebody like him. And I think that's really cool. So
But on the flip side of that too, you know people that would benefit me in my life too.
yeah, and
I,
that's
I'm
that's
I'm
what
not
I'm
the
hoping
I don't
for.
feel myself as a giver of any benefits in any regard, dude. I'm here to learn from people, and
Yeah.
I love hearing people's experiences and the struggles that they've had to overcome in their life too, or if they haven't overcome their struggle, like if they're in their struggle and they don't know how to get out of the struggle, dude. Hey, I'm here for that shit. Okay.
Dude, life gets rough quick. When you feel like you don't know how to get out of something.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the challenge in life today is sometimes we feel like there is no other way out. Like sometimes we feel like there's no way to overcome this problem that I'm facing.
Right.
The only option is to check out, dude.
Yeah.
I'm
And
I'm
that's,
not doing it. I'm checking out. Fuck this. Pardon my French.
yeah.
I'm
No,
done.
absolutely. And that was almost the point when I met your mom
Mm.
years ago. Yeah. We'll talk about that. Um, but yeah, getting getting to speak with other people, and even if it's in the comments, even if it's, people that watch the podcast later, enjoy it, subscribe to it, and follow it, then now we have this synergistic collaboration. So there's two things that I thought out of this. There is good synergy, but there's also bad synergy. Okay. The good synergy is I have a problem, I need a solution, I use my brain. But if I include Jason and I say, Jason, this is the problem, we put our two brains together, then the pool of ideas increases. What happens when you add 5 people to that? What happens when you add 10 people to that? And so for me, the high point comes at a level where you've got just enough chefs in the kitchen that you don't spoil the soup.
Mm.
You think about running a big operation, you need managers and supervisors overseeing certain areas, some people, multiple areas, and multiple people underneath them to ensure things don't go south, right? So, at what point do you have too many managers on duty? You have too many supervisors on the floor. So, I think there is a point where adding people to the conversation and adding um, the synergistic ideology of the best solution, I think there's also, let's call it a January 6th point where too many chefs spoil the soup.
Yeah.
You get too many
Yep.
people involved with this, crazy idea that somebody sold to all these people that everybody bought into it. And now you have an upheaval. Now
Yep.
you have a revolt. Now you have a resurgence of something that is not good. So you get too many people in there. But I think at the end of the day, anything that gets attention gets kind of that positive spin, because whether it's good or bad attention, it's getting acknowledgement. It's
Yeah.
getting effort put towards it. They're shoving that good juju from the universe over that way into that subject.
Yeah.
You know. So that was what we were thinking with collaborating with others, and then people sharing their ideas on whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be all on this podcast either. It could be me calling a buddy that, hey, I saw this thing, or I met this guy who knows such and such thing, and you've been wanting to invest your money, blah blah blah. Hey, let me give you his number.
Hmm.
Have or give him a call if you're interested. Leave the ball in his court. Maybe he doesn't want to. Maybe he doesn't want help. I don't know, but
Yeah.
um, just how we can all generate a better possible solution than if it was just one of us trying to go with the world alone.
Yeah.
So the last reason, and I think this one is probably the most important, this is a fun way to connect with others, build our networks personally and professionally, but having fun. Because if it's not fun, it's not worth it. That was one of the things that you and I learned as kids, right, Jay? If it's not
Hmm.
fun, it's not worth doing, put it down and go do something else. If
Move
you don't
on to.
enjoy if you don't enjoy what it is that you're doing, you could be doing it for different motivations. You could be doing it because you're getting paid well to do it. A lot of people hang around jobs they hate because they're getting paid well to do it. But think of the difference of how much less effort it seems to be if you're enjoying yourself. We were working hard in drum corps, but it didn't feel like work all the time because we were enjoying, or I was enjoying what I was doing. I don't know, I can't speak for your experience, but there were times when you knew it sucked and you knew that we were getting pushed and your hands are burning, your feet are sore, your lower back hurts, and you just keep going. You just keep going because everybody else is going and you've got to go with them. We're all trying to achieve the same thing, and I've got to pull my weight. I've got to haul my dirt with me. So I don't want to
Yeah.
bother you, Jay. You good?
I'm good. I just had a little side note. I'm good.
Oh, okay. If we need to stop, just let me know, all right?
Okay. I'll let you know.
Um, so yeah, having fun. The enjoyment I get from discussing things with the people I enjoy. I have try to have lunch with my sister, my niece, and her son, also my nephew, little nephew, my sister's son, Gabriel. I try to get with as many of the people in my family to just hang out. Don't have any expectations, don't have any preconceived notions, don't make, because it's the expectations that always let people down. You know, go in there. If my sister said, let's go have breakfast, and we end up cooking at her house, and she ends up making dessert, and we only have dessert, I don't care. It doesn't matter. A lot of people get hung up on those little details, and just try to do it without the expectations.
Yeah. It's the
But
it's
just
the uh it's the unfulfilled expectation you have in your mind, right? Like
right
you have certain expectations, and if it's not fulfilled, then you feel let down. But
by
then the
that
issue
person, by
by
that
that person,
relationship. Right,
but you never communicated that to the person, so that's not a fair assessment.
right. And it's not fair to either one of you.
Right.
Not fair to your feelings, even though you are responsible to be able to communicate those, but to the person that doesn't even know what's going on,
Yeah.
the person that's just trying to spend their time with you. So I try to put in time into those buckets. Whoever wants to have me in their life, You are more than welcome to have me. Let's go. Like, schedule something. Give me a time frame. Give me a time frame. We'll go for a motorcycle ride. We'll go watch a game together. We'll go eat chicken wings. Whatever, you know. And the conversation is always different. Um, my sister, my niece, and I were talking about some things with like living situations, where we live, um, how we kind of got to that place, who owns a house, who doesn't own a house, would we be interested as a family in purchasing property, how we would go about doing that, you know, different things that we thought just the way society is now and the way um, evolution plays a role in everything. That what does it look like if we bought a plot of land and shared it with the rest of our family that we could, who was interested, whatever, and then from there the challenges you would have, but then the benefits that would come out of it also, because there are a lot of people doing that. I've seen a lot of ranchers, ranchers that'll have not only part of their help, but their family members that live out there with
Yeah,
them, and they can all help take care of each other, especially during those times when things get a little more difficult. You have options immediately there to support you.
absolutely.
But yeah, the main thing was that we just wanted to have fun
Have a good time.
and be able to share the discussions that we're having. So we thought the next thing to do would be to introduce ourselves, just so everybody gets an idea of what our backgrounds are, some of the experiences we've had, how we met, why we're doing this podcast together. What connected us. Um, but I don't, Jason, you want to do your introduction and just let people know a bit about yourself?
Sure, sure. It's kind of interesting to kind of see where we're at now, and then pull up the memories of how how we came to be and how we finally crossed paths. But I just all I remember, I was born and raised in Pocatello. By that time, I had three older siblings. I'm the fourth, and that was kind of a rough and tumble kind of growing up because my older brothers loved to wrestle around. So it was always like you better get tough or you're gonna get clobbered kind of situation. And
Yeah.
then when my two younger brothers were born, it was kind of the same thing. They were kind of brought up in wrestling around and bumping each other up, and it was always a competition to try to stay ahead with our older brothers because they were really athletic. They were very engaged, involved parents that just absolutely loved us. So it was I think I had a real good upbringing. I had family that loved us, that loved me, parents that were absolutely amazing. My mom, I sure missed the heck out of her, dude. Um, I had I had 47 good years with my mom before she passed, and she was, we were all born up in a religious household. It was religious. That was kind of thing we did. That was the family agreement. So um, both my parents served a Mormon mission. My dad went to Guatemala, learned Spanish. My mom went to Finland, and she actually taught us some Finnish. And I think I was the only kid that showed any kind of interest in learning some of her Finnish words. And so that was kind of something special that we had together. And um, but my siblings, um, I still keep in contact with them. In fact, today I'm planning on going to see them. At least my two older brothers. My sister's down in Salt Lake, and I have a brother that just moved close up here to Lavis. So I'm looking forward to go seeing my pops and my two older brothers and their families, kind of see what's going on. It's been a while since I've seen them. So anyway, growing up in the school system in the sixth grade, they gave us an option, a path, so to speak. You can either choose this way or this way. And they said you can either be in choir or you can be in the band. And I really wasn't much of a singing kid. And I had a neighbor. right next door to us growing up that played the drums. He had a drum set in his basement, and I could hear him from our house slapping around on the drums. Well, so growing up, so I understood that our neighbor, his name was David Buffalo. He was the drummer in the high school band. So he was there, he'd play at all the football games because they'd bring the whole band and the drum set to the football games. And there I would see David pounding away on those drums, dude. And I had already kind of loved drums because I loved music. I'd listen to the music that my older siblings would listen to. So that was the era of the big bands. We'd listen to Motley Crue,
All the hair bands.
the hair bands, dude, Poison, Cinderella,
White
and all these
Lion.
guys, White Line, White Snake, you know, all
Oh.
all that stuff. So I loved music. I loved mimicking the drums. I latched on to the drums pretty quick. Not to say I was ever really good, but I loved it.
But see,
Intriguing.
I wanted to ask you about that. We've never really talked about this. Did you like, because you know how they have solo ensemble and auditions for all city, all county, all district, all whatever. Did you ever audition for those things or did you ever participate in those things?
I don't ever recall doing any kind of solo performance, but we had a very involved high school program to where our percussion section each year would go, we do some, I guess, district competitions.
Yeah.
We had the concert band that we were involved in, and I was more involved in, okay, the one thing I was less involved in was the drum set. And that's probably one thing, if I could still try to develop, that would be my coordination on a drum kit. I played a little bit, but not nearly as much
So
as
I saw this girl on Instagram and I found her on TikTok and Facebook also. She's 20 years old with amazing double pedal footwork. Just every challenging song that I like, I've heard her play.
she throws it down, huh?
And I'm just like, name's Jaden something. I'll post a link or something
Yeah, if you find
in the
something, send it
comments, dude.
because I love it,
But
dude. I'm
that
here
little
for it.
girl, and I think she's been playing for like 10 years. So I mean, all of us have started kind of around that age. But anyway, still more about you. As an accomplished percussionist, you didn't audition for anything and
Oh,
because you had like here's my thing. You marched drum corps.
yeah.
And for anybody, and I don't think it matters what level of drum corps, any drum corps, you have to have a certain level of proficiency developed by the end of the first year to call yourself good at what you do. Any of those kids, any of those kids against any of the other kids that you played it with in high school, I would say are better, hands
Mm,
down. Because I mean, think about how much time we spent, Jay. Figure we had in the course of 2 months of the summer, because we moved in Memorial Day, right? And we would go back home days before school started or almost a few days after school started for some, right? So in that time, we had 6 or 7, maybe free days, just days all to ourselves where we didn't do anything. Every other day was spent, even on show days, what would we spend playing? 4 to 6, 4 to 6
yeah,
hours. So let's call it 6 hours on a show day. Then we go to the show and warm up for another hour and then play the show and then do retreat that there's some playing for some of the horn players and stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But then for us, even having to stand back there at attention, the level of discipline to stand and not move, people don't understand. People do it in the military for a reason. you
Yeah.
know? So the discipline that it takes for us, and that's what I always, the Blue Devils, they just kind of do whatever. Ah, we're good. Like I would always, the ones
Duck,
I would really
duck, duck,
respect,
goose.
yeah, like it's like seeing a bear or seeing a moose or just some colossal thing was like seeing the cadets coming on the
Same.
field, marching, or even when they were standing at parade rest, just to see that block, just it was amazing. It was amazing because of the level of technicality and the amount of discipline it takes for every single person in that unit to do that at the exact same time for the exact length of time that they all did it.
Yeah. So that's the unknown. That's the infinite unknown. If if your high school program isn't as disciplined as a highly structured drum corps, and you're involved in that high school program, you don't know.
Mm.
You don't know what you're getting into, bud.
You don't know what you don't know.
Imagine a little kid who plays little league football for the first time, right?
Right.
And he watches NFL games. Does he know what it takes to be an NFL player?
Does he
He
know what it took to be able to make that one-handed grab?
probably not.
Right. Because he didn't sit every day and catch 1,000 balls a day.
So my high school, we had a pretty robust program, but nobody had marched drum corps. We did have some instructors that had gone to some camps for the troopers, tried to bring that knowledge over. But as far as I mean, you can't drill in high school like you drill in drum corps. But the first time I went to a camp for the troopers, that would have been my first tryout was with the troopers, and that would have been the fall of 95
95.
for the 96 season. I thought I was top dog rolling up there in Casper, dude,
Yeah, me too.
because of we had a good program. I thought I was pretty good. But then going to try out in front of these guys, the Pat Amon, Sam Steven, I don't even remember who else was. I don't remember. It's all blurred. But I remember them telling me to play something on that because I went to go try out for snare.
I've got this video playing in my head of that moment for you because it probably was a lot like mine.
Oh my heavens. Quite literally a little league player going in and trying to put my knowledge out, but it's like I can imagine in their brains after I was doing what I was doing. I don't even remember what I did. I don't remember because they'll tell you to kind of improvise something and play something.
Right.
They probably knew in that as soon as I walked through the door in the room, they're probably like, "I think we're going to put you on bottom base," but
Unisons and downbeats. That's that kid right there. He is Mr. Unison, Mr. Downbeat.
Mr.
Get
Big
him on it.
Boy, you're gonna want that big drum, buddy.
You're going to carry heavy things.
You just don't know, bud. And but I guess to that point though, I didn't know what it was like, but I was getting in it. I'm going in because I remember seeing all these videos in high school of the drum corps. I remember seeing the Madison Scouts and the big badass Blue Devils lines, like the 1990 Blue Devil show, the rock opera Tommy show. Still to this day is one of my favorite shows ever. That drum line, dude. And then later in life to meet Pete Sapiden and Vern Johnson, Vern that marched in the tenor line there, and
Yeah.
Pete that was on the snare line. It's wild to meet some of these guys. But I mean, to see that and how it impressed me so much, to then try to get mixed into it, you don't know what you're getting into, bud.
No.
It was like, but fast forward when I went to the Santa Clara camp in the fall of 97 for the 98 season, which would have been my age out. I, I felt like a little baby again. You know what I mean? Like
like a little
the
fish in a big pond.
oh, dude, I don't even know how I went down there, dude. I don't even know why. Hey, what an experience. But it was an experience, you know. It's almost like you have to do it. Like you see your course and you just have to follow it. You don't know. It's like you're in this completely dark room and you just have this little flashlight that's only shining just a little bit ahead of you so you can just kind of see the next step, right?
And hope you don't end up on your ass.
Or on your face or in a
Yeah, dude,
ditch somewhere.
that really was the feeling. That really was the feeling of walking into a drum corps audition, and realizing how not good you are.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not even not how good you are, but how much better some of these other kids from legit. I mean, some of the kids from the Texas programs,
Oh,
and
dude,
now
get out.
it's ridiculous, dude. Now, like you used to have a group of bands from like the Midwest that were, some of the California schools, some of the Texas schools, some of the East Coast schools. They were really good. But as YouTube has evolved, as the internet has evolved, have you seen some of these ridiculous? Like I was just talking about Jaden, this girl that I saw on Instagram, how much younger they are for what they can do. Like I would expect when you were talking about Nick Angelis being one of the snare techs in '96, we had this conversation, not understanding what he was capable of at the time, but then over the years, seeing that he was part of Blast, he was part of, Star of Indiana, that you don't understand. You expect somebody like um, with Professor Tusa, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, you would expect him to have a certain level of knowledge because he's been doing it for so long. But when you can see some of these kids doing Nick Angeles, Professor Tusa type stuff at 15 years old, 16 years old, because and then there's some prodigies that started playing when they were 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. And by 15, 16, they are absolutely ridiculous,
Yeah.
ridiculous musicians. And I mean, maybe some of them had some natural talent, but a lot of them are just the stick to itiveness,
Yeah.
the discipline to get up and do something every day and keep trying at it. And as you try, you get that 1% better every time you do it consistently. And just seeing how amazing some of these kids are today when it comes not just to music, talent,
Hmm.
some of the talents in general. I mean, they say a lot of things about the kids today being lazy and this, that, and the other. It's just like any other generation. I think
Yeah.
we had the ones that were lazy in ours. We
All
had the
right.
overachievers. We had, people that were run of the mill every day, just wanted to get by folks, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's how they want to live their lives. They're happy, they're content. Leave them alone, you know?
Yep.
So,
There's
but
something that this generation has that we didn't, and
yeah,
that's access to all these
all that
social
information.
channels.
No, in
Because
the social channels too.
it's interesting to see like who's this guy on the Facebooks. I think his name's Jay Davis. I think he marched snare for the Blue Coats, and then he's involved with some winter drum lines, right?
Right.
But he can watch a video of a drum line, get a hold of their music, and then he'll take video of him playing along with the line, and he shows the music and how to play it, and it's almost like it's becoming this. I think this internet sensation has become uh, an ability for this new generation who we call lazy, but they have more access to more people and seeing how people live, not just
Yeah.
our struggle was we didn't know how people lived outside of Roswell or
Right.
outside of Pocatello. We don't know how people live, but now with the social media and the internet, we can see how everybody around the world is living.
Yeah.
Like they have access to see everything, and I think that's awesome. I think there's more power ahead for this generation to make the necessary changes where changes need to be made, and I think for the better.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That is very cool. So let's get back to introducing you. Tell me about your your college education. Well, you finished your degree, but you didn't finish it in on the traditional timeline,
Ooh,
right?
no. I'm not a quick learner. I know that. It took me too long. It took me too long to finish college, dude, and it was such a struggle, and I was taking classes while I was married and we were starting our family, so it's like, and you have to work too, so you got to figure out how to be there for your spouse, how to be available for your children, how to be available for your work schedule, how to be available for
Your
your class
schoolwork.
time, and then be doing your schoolwork at home, and how to try to balance all that, dude. I look back and I'm like, holy smokes, dude.
Yeah, I
It
mean
took me a
it's a
long
lot.
time.
It's a
Like
lot.
I didn't graduate until 2008 with my bachelor's, and that I graduated high school in 95. Dude, 13 years to get through it all. It's like, anyway, I guess I'm glad I did it.
So
That's
you finished with a bachelor in business
still debatable.
administration and a
Yeah,
minor in Spanish.
minor Spanish.
I thought it was business administration and a minor in finance for whatever reason. I didn't know it was
Mm-mm.
Spanish. Well, I think you had told me before, but I forgot it was Spanish. I think that's pretty cool.
It was,
But so here's a question for you. Um, well, you did your Mormon mission in the Dominican Republic,
yeah,
right?
that was from 99 to 2001.
Okay, so here's my question is in this scope of you learning Spanish, did you declare the minor and learn Spanish and then go to the Dominican Republic? Or did you go to the Dominican Republic, have to learn Spanish in preparation for your mission, and then after you knew Spanish, you could be like, hey, I should just get a minor
Right there, bingo.
right there?
I had no course map of what I wanted to do. So when I decided to leave for the mission, got called to the Spanish speaking mission in the DR. That was 2 years. Got back. That's when I started expressing interest in college, and then that's when I was like, okay, well, I'm speaking Spanish, so why don't I do something with Spanish? So it was after the mission, when I get into college, that I figure, okay, well, I've at least got some Spanish under my belt, so to
Yeah,
speak. So
yeah.
let's drive something. But I didn't quite know what I wanted to do. Like I even go back now and I debate why I even got a finance degree. Like, the hell am I doing?
Yeah, but you know how many drivers have degrees? There's a feeder driver that has a mechanical engineering degree.
Wow.
Makes more money as a feeder driver. The sad state of affairs, man.
I
You
maybe
know?
there's something to just pushing and grinding down that path. I don't know why I went through it. I did have, big gains of maybe wanting to be a stockbroker or some BS like that. I don't know what it was, but not interested in it now. That's all I know.
So here
So
I got a question, a follow-up question. As far as your Mormon mission goes, were you able to request with the church where you wanted to go, or was it just like a lottery type assignment? Or how do they figure out who's going to go where? I've always wondered that about the Mormon church.
I think thinking back, I do believe that you can on the application to serve the mission, I think you
Right?
can put some requests on there. You can also put places that you would not
Rather
like
not
to go
go?
to. You know what I mean? I think there are
Yeah.
some of that,
Okay.
but according to the leadership, uh, and they're claiming that they're guided by revelation. So what they say they're doing is they'll take the applications of these young missionaries,
Right.
and they'll kind of pray over the name, and they'll look at the application, review it, and while they're reviewing it, they'll try to get the feeling for where this particular missionary could serve best,
Needs to go.
where
Yeah,
where they needed and where
would be
would they
best
serve best.
utilized.
Yeah,
Where can we check the most
yeah,
boxes?
yep.
Okay,
And
I've always been curious about that because I mean you see missionaries everywhere. We went
everywhere.
to Freddy's Burgers here the other day and we're parked right next to us. A car, two sisters got out and I saw their name tags. And so yeah, I've always wondered how people get assigned and at what level of leadership do those types of decisions get made? So is that the local level leadership or would it be like a regional type leadership overseer type?
As I'm aware, the actual
As far as you personally are concerned, not a group of missionaries, but
yeah,
you
individually.
personally where you're going to end up.
So as I'm aware, the top leadership of the church are it's the president of the church. The
Right?
president has his two counselors, and then under that leadership, that they call that the first presidency. Under them, they have the quorum of the 12 apostles.
Okay.
And I believe there are at least one or two of the apostles that are signed to review each of those applications of the missionaries. And it's up to them to essentially receive the
The
revelation,
direction
the
forward.
direction of where
Yeah.
this person's going. But
Okay.
then once I believe it, they're all reviewed by the actual president of the church too, and he signs off on it that this person's going to this place.
Wow.
But in order for all that to happen, the missionary has to, you know, go through the whole process of, worthiness, as far as, okay, are you in line with all the guidelines of the church, and
Right.
are you meeting all the standards,
Are you
and
living the life that we would expect
exactly.
of a missionary that we're
Yep.
about to send and spend all this money on? That
Yep.
makes sense. So, as just a long-standing question that I've had, tell me about your marriage. I'm sorry, don't tell me about your marriage. Tell me about when you got married. Give me all the details.
Yeah, give
No,
me the
like you're
give me the
married, right?
tea.
You
Yep.
and Evie got married in what year?
We were oh 02, we got married, so it'll be 24 years this December.
Wow.
Yeah, we met. So after I got back from the island in 2001, that would have been the fall of 2001. I remember dating around, dated a few girls, and then I finally met Evelyn in the fall of 2002. Now
Okay.
let's start doing some math here.
That's
I met
woo.
her in the fall of 2002
Yeah, and
and
married by
got
December.
married in December 2002.
That's what, 4 months?
It was quick, dude. So interesting story here too. You remember
Tara Cotting.
Tara Cotting,
Yep.
who also marched with us, right?
Yeah.
So
And her
she,
brother.
yeah, Nathan, right?
Yeah.
Hale. So Tara was living in Pocatello, going to school, and she had a roommate. She had two roommates, but she had a roommate, and we were at this dance for the church up in one of the big buildings up in the university, right?
Right.
And I see Tara walking down the hallway and walking into the gym where the little dance floor is, and with her is Tara's little roommate, Evelyn.
Tara's 6 foot of roommate.
Tara here, Evelyn, a bit taller. Dude, once I saw her, dude, I was struck. I was
Awesome.
struck. Beautiful lady. And I was like, well, I need some more of that.
I want that one.
I wanna see what's happening here. I want
That's
daddy.
cool.
Daddy wants something.
So did you approach her or did she approach you?
Well, it was kind of we're approaching each other because I saw Tara and I was like, shit, I hadn't seen Tara for a hot minute. So I hugged Tara. I was like, Tara, what's going on? Chopping it up with Tara. And then the introduction happens to Evelyn.
Oh, this is my roommate Evie.
Oh, oh, really?
Oh, really?
Well, how do you do? But So with guys, at least for me, I think part of my struggle was confidence
Yeah.
with, talking to the ladies.
Yeah.
You know,
No,
I, I
it's real, man.
I grew up kind of a shy kid, and I was pudgy, a little overweight, and never had real confidence with the women. Not like I was any kind of macho man growing up. So, uh, but I'd slimmed down. Drum corps put me through the refiner's fire. Being down on the island put me through the refiner's fire. It was hot and humid down there. I dropped a lot of weight. So I think my confidence was a little bit up, but it took me a long time to ask Evelyn out on a date. It probably took me maybe almost a week to even ask her out, because I think the things that we struggle with, maybe somebody else struggles with this too, is it. So I didn't know if Evelyn was interested in me, because if she wasn't interested in me, I could get on with my life and I'd be fine.
Right.
But I was so interested in her, I had to know if she had any interest in me.
Okay. That makes sense.
So it's like it's this little game now of,
Cat and
hey,
mouse.
hey, what you do?
No,
What you doing?
it wasn't what you're doing. It was you had to call them. You had to call and sometimes meet their parents first. Hello, Mrs. Johnson. Is Kara there? Kara, some little boy's on the phone. You know what I
So
mean? So
yeah,
yeah, it was. And then to find out that the little girl doesn't like you.
then, and
That's
then okay, yeah, I'm done.
that just
So
kills you, dude. You know,
yeah,
and
yeah,
fuck,
no, it
you don't. I didn't realize how to take a no from a girl for a long time.
that's a terrible feeling.
That feeling of rejection from a girl.
Yeah, it makes you question a lot.
Yeah,
Kind of makes you question, what the hell good am I? Like,
yeah. It
am I
almost
any
makes you
kind of
question your
benefit? Like,
entire worth.
absolutely. I think that's a big thing. So I'd be interested to know if other guys feel how they feel about that, and I'm sure there'll be a wide range of answers on that, because because I think there's a lot
You
more
know, dude,
confident men as opposed to,
that's honestly a really great episode.
yeah,
Is just that whole interaction with asking girls out.
yeah,
I'd be um I'd be curious to see what other guys that we grew up with
hmm,
experienced when it came to dating and you know, we don't have to drop names, but how you came up and what situations you went through, the heartaches, the the bounce back, you know, the bounce back. How did you get over some of those things? But
yeah.
um, so with that marriage of 24 years, how many kids you guys have?
We've got 5 kiddos. Um, so we got married in December '02. Our oldest daughter was born in 2000. Let's see, three two
Three.
thousand four,
Okay. Oh, that's right.
January 2004. So she's now 22, going on 23. She'll be 23 in January. Which, thinking about this stuff, just freaking blows my mind, dude.
Yeah.
Especially when I get back to photo memories that pop up, and you're 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 23-year-old, you're looking at pictures that I mean, you remember well when they
You
were
were
born.
22 when you came to visit me.
I was 22. That sounds about right, huh?
Yeah. So you were your daughter's age when we had that trip to El Paso.
God bless El Paso.
I was trying to find that picture. I'll post that picture when I find it, and I'm gonna make that our little cover photo.
Wait, which one? There was a lot of photos taken of
The
that
one in
one.
front of the state of Texas sign.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna leave some of those other pictures out of it.
yeah, we better leave some of those out. That's just for that's for our eyes only.
Right.
So
So
yeah, so I
after,
would have been
oh, good.
22. So I've been 22 coming down to see you, and then yeah, so Tressa was born in '04. We had Haley a year later in August of '05, and then we had Kenso. Okay, well, I guess for if I want to merge all the timelines here, our two oldest were born in Pocatello. That's where we lived at the time.
Right.
And then
That's right.
before our number three was born, you and I had a conversation
Right.
over the phone. And
Yeah.
I still remember that conversation. I remember where I was standing in our house, chopping it up with you. I remember what
I
we were
don't know.
talking about.
So you and I hadn't, from the time that I talked to your mom in Socorro in 2001, you and I had like a couple conversations from 2001 to 2008, I think. And it was like r months apart.
Yeah, a lot of time lapse between
There was a
those.
lot of time that lapsed in
Sparse.
between the times that you and I would talk. And then I remember for some reason, I don't really, I guess I had always just liked the relationship I had with you and how, going back and forth and cutting it up, I would always have a great time talking to you.
Same.
And so then I thought, well, why don't I try doing that more?
Yeah.
What a concept.
How
So
about
I would
that?
start calling you more often. And that's where we got to talking about Albertsons. We got to talking about selling RVs and the Hail Mary. That's
Yeah.
where the Hail Mary came from. So
Yeah.
we had actually talked a couple of times, and I think in my head, I was thinking, man, it'd be great if Jason wasn't 3 states away, or 2 states away, whatever. Just all those miles. It'd be great if he were nearby, it would be fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We could get ourselves in some shit if Jason was closer. So then I don't think I put a whole lot of thought into it after that. And so I started 2007. I moved to Roswell. 2007, I moved to Roswell. And by 2009, I had already kind of seen the trend of part-time supervisors working a year or two and then being out, you know. So I figured, I was like, man, if an Oprah, because I had already replaced a couple of them by that time. Like I had already gone through a couple of heads. And so I remember thinking, man, if I could just get him a foot in the door with his situation, and then I started thinking about it, I am actually the person to help make that decision because I would, kind of vet him and, excuse me,
Cough it out, buddy. Cough it out.
I would talk to the group. Excuse me. Yeah, I'll cut that part out.
Edit.
Anyway, I was a person that would give a list of however many people I liked. More than three, always more than three. Um, but yeah, I could start getting part-time supervisors, and I thought it's not the end game. Definitely, I know he can't feed his family off of just this job, but if he works this one and another one to make one full-time job, the part-time soup gig pay is pretty decent.
Yeah.
Not great, but it's decent. It's better than what you're going to find in most other places, and then supplement that with something else.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't easy for me to get started either. When I was working, when I started, um, I had to have 3 jobs. I had to have 3 jobs,
Yeah.
and that paid my rent. I didn't have a car payment. It paid for gas. It paid my insurance. And I had just gotten a cell phone,
Mm,
like 2006. I think I had my first cell phone. So I made just enough for a one-bedroom apartment. And it was rough getting started, man.
yeah.
Yeah. So 2009, we move you down, have you start there. Then you left to go to the cheese plant. And then after the cheese plant, I was like, hey, we've already thrown the ball 1,500 miles. What's another 120 miles?
Oh, dude.
Because I thought, and I did, dude. Really, when I approached you with that idea of moving Roswell to Hobbs, in the back of my head, to me, this wasn't just the crack in the door. This was the door fully opening
Yeah.
because now it's a full-time job. Now you can feed your family. Now you have benefits for your family. Now you have the possibility and the ability to take care of your family. You know what I mean? I was like, but I can't make you do it. I can't make you go. I can't force you through that door. You have to figure out if it's going to be worth, picking up your family and going another 120 miles.
Hmm.
So that was those two moments for me. I felt like I had to put those opportunities in front of you because I wasn't sure you were aware how impactful they would be. That's the reason I did that. I thought if somebody had like, if we flip the tables and somebody tells me I have an opportunity for you to have your family safeguarded and make six figures, five good figures, six figures. If you have that opportunity, would you be willing to take it? Here's what you got. Here's what you got to give up. Your parents already got to come far to see either of you, both of your parents. So it's another 2 hours.
Hmm.
They're already, when you're driving 18 hours, what's two more?
Just
Seriously,
put it right on
what's
top,
two
buddy.
more? What's three more?
Yeah.
So that was what I thought. And for what was happening at the time, I figured I got to bring this to his attention. And the thing about it was, it was easy to get in. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It was easy to get in because I think that was the beginning of when all these people started to retire. All the baby boomers started to exit. The mass exodus that we knew was going to happen started happening right around there.
Yeah.
And I said, Jason, if you jump on, you can ride this thing for 30 years.
Mm.
So that was the move in 2009. You guys stuck around till 19 before you moved
Yep.
back to Idaho.
Yep.
And it was basically, was it your mom and dad's condition at the time that was the driving force to make
Well,
that decision?
my mom didn't have a condition at the time
That's right.
that we knew of. It was
That's
my
right.
dad. My dad had some medical issues, like he was having strokes and having heart problems, and dude
And
was
the
not
traveling was getting difficult.
absolutely
I remember
he was not in a good way, not in a good way at all.
that.
And that was when my on-car approached me about that transfer to Soda Springs. I don't even remember putting my name on the transfer list about it. That's the funny thing. When he approached me, I'm like, "What the H are you talking about, bud?" So
Really?
I must have dinked around at some point just as a game, like let's see if this transfer list is really a thing. I'll just put my name and where I'm going on here. So I must have put my name on Soda Springs to transfer at some point because when he approached me, I didn't remember doing it. He's like, "Your transfer request to Soda Springs got approved." I was like, "What?
That's
Say
crazy.
what?" So that blindsided me. First of all, I thought I was in trouble. I mean, when else do you get called alone into the on car's office to talk about something? So yeah, once he told me that, I was like, well, when do you need a decision? He says I need a decision in 24 hours.
Or they
So,
go to the next person.
oh, buddy, like that's not a lot of time. That's a big move. So I was on the phone with Evelyn. I was like, hey, we got some information that just came over our
We
airwaves that
need to talk.
we got to chat. So after I finished work that day, Evie and I went to Buffalo Wild Wings there in Hobbs. They're on old Joe Harvey Boulevard,
Yeah.
and we cut it up and kind of
You
assessed
do you take the
the
kids with you or
cons.
no?
No, it was just her and
You guys
I.
both kids?
Yeah,
Yep.
we discussed the cons, the pros, and the pros seemed to outweigh the cons on the whole situation for transferring back up. And one of the driving thoughts in the whole deal was if my dad does pass, where do we want to be when that phone call comes?
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Do I want to be 19 hours away when the phone call comes and then we arrange how to get up there and help work all that out? Or do we go be 1 hour away?
Yeah.
So that was a driving force too. So yeah, we made the decision. Went and took that up
So
and got up here just just before July 1st, 2019. So I
okay.
up here in this delivery area, I just completed 7 years.
I was just about to say I think that would make 7 years that you guys have been there.
Yeah.
Right on.
So what a dang wild ride it's been, bro. It's
Yeah.
been wild.
Um, so we can do the intro on me. Um, my parents were both born in Mexico. Um, they raised us. Well, so they immigrated 70s, early 70s. They immigrated to the US because my dad had been working coast to coast. He had done some work on fishing boats, and what kept him in the panhandle of Texas was oil field work.
Nice.
So he had got caught up with some friends doing work in the oil field and happened to land a good job. So he and my mom got married um, and raised us in the panhandle of Texas. We ended up going a couple other places. So um, where I was born, they had shut down. There was another shop 60 miles away. So they shut down that one, and then they gave a couple of options for people. You can either go to Liberal, Kansas, or you can go to Pampa, Texas. So my dad took the transfer to Pampa, Texas, stayed with the same company, and I think he started with the company when I around the time that I was born, within a few months of when I was born. So he had started with this company. So at the time, I'm maybe 4 or 5 years old, and he's making decent money, has good benefits for the family, which is what he taught me years down the road. He was like, if you're, you know, if you don't get a degree, find a big company, find a big company with good benefits that'll take care of your family. And so it's kind of how I ended up where I am. But so yeah, that was me, my brother, and my sister. We grew up in the Texas Panhandle up until about the age of 10, 12. I think I was 10 when we moved to West Virginia. And West Virginia, I mean, you figure everything in the Texas Panhandle, it's all oil, but there's, obviously places all over the US that you can drill. They're just not as concentrated, I guess, the
Right.
locations. But they did have a shop in Paintsville, Kentucky.
Mm.
that my dad got transferred to, and he went first, left us in Oklahoma, which was an interesting experience having mom around all the time and not dad, where mom gets frustrated a lot quicker, mom gets
Mm.
frustrated a lot easier, and dad wasn't around for, the couple of months that he was trying to get us established out on the East Coast.
I can't imagine why she'd be so frustrated with you kids. Yeah.
The we weren't horrible kids. We weren't great kids, but we weren't horrible. Um, so my dad ends up getting another transfer from Paintsville, Kentucky to West Virginia just because uh it wasn't a great place for him. So we,
What was the timeline in that transfer from Kentucky
oh,
to West
that's
Virginia?
months.
Okay.
2 months, 4 months, like within 2 months of him leaving Oklahoma, he was already transferring to West Virginia from Kentucky. So we never saw Kentucky. Um, but we did see 2.5 days later of West Virginia.
Oh, buddy.
I think that drive was about 2.5 days. 2.5 days. My dad was pulling the truck, or so he had the rental truck with all our stuff and one car that we had, and then my mom was driving the other car, towing a third car because my sister was about to start driving. So that was a story. It was tough to get up
Wow.
there, because my
Yeah.
mom had to man up real quick. And I say it like that because she had never pulled a trailer before, and she's pulling a vehicle
Sheesh.
2,200, 2,300 miles across the US to where she has never been. And back east, it's not all flat roads where you have perfect visibility. Like it's a lot of winds and a lot of curves and a lot of trees,
Yeah.
a lot of, the Appalachian Mountains that you got to drive through to get to where we were.
No
It's
GPS.
it's not all fun and games, no GPS on top of that. You got to follow dad the whole way. So it was a haul, man.
Dude, your
Thankfully,
mom's a trooper,
yeah,
probably.
we didn't have any pets, so we didn't have to worry about, dragging a pet with us, but the three kids and mom and dad, dude, it was something. So we end up out in West Virginia. Somewhere in Oklahoma, uh, Tony had picked up drumsticks because our parents finally, after asking and asking and asking if we could be in extracurricular activities and stuff like that, they finally said yes because one of the girls that we hung out with at church played the clarinet in the band in the junior high. They had a pretty decent program too. David Robinson was one of the band directors that I remember that worked with me a little bit in they had a middle school and then they had a junior high. It was K through 4. Then they had a 5-6 that they called middle school. Then they had a 7-8 that they called junior high. And then 9 through 12 was high
High
school at
school.
that time. Yeah. So uh, I met a Mr. Robinson through my brother, but I thought, man, I am chingon because I already know the band director from my older brother. So I would hang around as much as I could, even if, just sitting in the back of the classroom listening. I thought I was the shit because I was in there. So Tony started playing the drums. My dad bought me a $100 trombone from somebody down the interstate that was selling one. We found a used one, had a latch, and I'll never forget it. It was like an almost a door latch that somebody had welded on there or pressed in the plastic or something. And here I went to class with my trombone, and man, I loved it. Um, and I was good at it. I paid attention. I paid attention to detail. I tried to learn all the scales and chromatic scales, and so then I kept noticing how much fun Tony was having, my big brother was having on uh, playing percussion with the junior high band. And I started playing the trombone because I had an older cousin who played trombone in El Paso. And I had seen him play to a couple times. We had gone, I think, to football games, either football games or basketball games where he was playing there. And so I said, okay, so I'll play trombone. I didn't think anything else of it. But then I saw how much fun Tony was having playing drums, learning how to play drums, the different kinds of drums, all the different instruments that you have in percussion. And I was like, so you mean I don't just have to learn this one instrument? I get to learn all of these instruments.
Mm,
And so that kind of piqued my interest to be able to switch. Well, none of the instructors, when I went from Texas to Oklahoma, let's see, started in Oklahoma. When I went to Oklahoma to West Virginia in junior high, middle school and junior high, they didn't want me switching. They wanted me to play trombone so I could help them help the other kids learn,
mm,
which would have been an experience in itself, but I didn't see it that way as a selfish 11-year-old. I
yeah.
wanted to play the drums because I wanted to play the drums.
Hmm.
I want what I want. They didn't allow it. And so it was right around that time, like we had just started school in West Virginia, or not in West Virginia, but I had just started junior high in a new school. And when the teacher told me, you can't play drums here, little kid. We want you either on trombone or you're not going to be in band. And I remember that guy's name was Mr. Sullivan, and he had a shithead little kid.
They
I don't
always
remember.
do.
I don't
They
remember
always
what
do.
his. He had two little redheaded sons that were Sullivans, and I don't remember their first name.
Them little
But
gingers.
they were just they weren't going to be your friends, but they just wanted to know enough about you so they could talk shit about you.
Uh-huh.
Those little kind of kids.
Yeah.
So, right after that, my dad comes home one day and he's like, "Hey, I gotta." Well, we had all kind of made it known to my dad that we weren't happy where we were at and we needed things to change as a family.
Yeah.
There were a lot of discussions between he and my mom that, I'm sure as an adult now, I can think what those conversations were,
Right.
but a lot of it did deal with the unhappiness. My mom wasn't happy. My mom wasn't anywhere near her family because at least when we were in Texas, I think Amarillo to El Paso, Amarillo to Roswell is about 5 hours. So another 3 hours to El Paso. We were within 8 hours, 10 hours, a 1 day drive of getting from where we were to El Paso before we went to West Virginia. Now we're in West Virginia. It's not a 2 day, a 2.5 day drive. It's a 3 day drive. We went to an uncle's wedding, and I think it took us all of 3 days to drive down there and to drive back, and it was not fun. So my dad gets his transfer to. It's not back to the Panhandle, but it's to New Mexico, and we're actually closer to my mom's family than 8 hours. It's only going to be a 3 hour drive to go to El Paso and Juarez. So we didn't even wait for my dad to finish the conversation. We were throwing shit in trash bags, throwing things in boxes. When do we get the hell out of here? We were so happy and we were so proud of my dad that he made that happen. It was really difficult for us up there, but he made that happen. And that was probably, if I had to guess for my entire family and just kind of, what everybody was going through, I would say that was a pivotal moment for every single person in our family to better their mental health, to better just the overall quality of life that we felt we were having. You know what I mean? And it was, I know my dad has I don't know if you want to call it guilt or regret. I wouldn't know because I'm not him, but I know he's not happy for the way some of the things went. And looking back to see how much he accomplished in each one of those moves, and just being a dad now, you understand those things that you didn't understand as a kid. You understand how much sacrifice and almost to the point of heartache, how difficult it is to make some of those decisions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you don't realize how amazing your parents are until you think, man, I didn't have to make those decisions. They did. And we turned out all right. We turned out okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, dude. So the whole band director thing, we get moved to New Mexico, and me and my parents had already had the discussion. I want to play drums. I do not want to play the trombone anymore. We can sell that thing, we can give it away for all I give a damn. I want to play drums. Tony had been showing me some things, you know, basic, and I mean real basic, eight on a stuff type hand, eight on a hand type stuff. Um, Double beat, triple beat, accent tap type stuff that you would learn in junior high,
Yeah.
not at the level we were playing at, but that you would meet at the rudimentary levels of music. But I already knew how to read music. I already knew how to read notes. So a lot of that stuff wasn't a challenge for me. I got right in it with 2 feet, you know. Um, so when I talked to the band director that we had at the time, his name was Kent Jordan. He was like, okay, you don't want to play trombone, that's fine. Because he asked me, do you know how to play do you know how to play any instruments? And I was reluctant to tell him I know how to play the trombone, but I felt like I needed to be at least honest with the guy that, yeah, I know how to play trombone, but I would like to transition and play percussion. And there was a kid named Desi Alvarez, Jason Bowman, and Jeff Gutierrez.
That name rings a bell.
And I looked at these 3 kids. One was playing bass drum, Desi was playing bass drum, Jeff was playing snare drum, and I think him and Desi were switching off, and Jason Bowman was playing cymbals. And I remember that because we were playing the song called Newcastle March. That was the first song we ever played. And I remember he had me just in the back watching because, it was my first day and whatever. And as I'm observing these kids, I see that Jeff, with his round glasses, and he has a very particular stature where if you were to see a silhouette in a crowd, you would automatically know that's Jeff.
That's Jeff.
That's Jeff right there. Um, has a Metallica shirt on. It's the Sad But True shirt, has the 2 hands with the skulls, and on the back has there's an eye with I think it's a skull on the back. But anyway, he had that shirt, and my if even up to this point, my mother and I, well, my mother, me, and Tony, really, because Tony and I are the ones that when we would go to Mexico, we would buy the bootleg tapes.
Yeah.
So we had bootleg everything because they were only like $2, or a
Nice.
dollar a cassette tape or whatever.
There were 20 pesos.
My sister had started listening to like pop music and um, rap and R&B and stuff like that from our time in West Virginia. Tony and I kind of gravitated towards hard rock, hair bands, and heavy metal. And what we started realizing is we liked more than hairband hard rock. We liked metal.
Yeah.
Tony and I were metal freaks. So we went from, hairband stuff to Motley Crue to Guns N' Roses to Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer,
Pantera.
Pantera, Anthrax
Mm,
type stuff where double bass,
mm.
the use of
Work
the
of
double bass
beauty.
pedal was what really attracted us. and captivated our attention because we knew already how difficult it was just to play rudiments on a snare drum, one brain with two hands. Then seeing quad players, the level of difficulty to play multiple toms with these same rudiments. Then the concept of playing a drum set where it's obviously both hands, both feet with a double bass setup and listening to Vinnie Paul. Listening to Vinnie Paul on like Primal Concrete Sledge, um, Heresy, some of those different early songs were so freaking amazing on our little boombox, 3.5 inch speakers per, 3.5 inch little subs and a tweeter and
Mm-hmm.
that little setup. But that's what got us going, man. That's what got us going. So we already knew based on how difficult it is to play drums, how much more intensity and focus and discipline it takes to play a double bass setup like that. And then to create what was being created in the early 90s with Lars Ulrich and One and some of the other stuff on Master of Puppets, Battery,
Yeah, dude.
Damage Incorporated. Like it was so just
Mm-hmm.
from a musician standpoint that we were like, dude, that's it right there.
That's the one.
We want to be able to recreate that feeling in other people. And I know Tony had it too. Tony was real passionate about it. And I think people, shitty band directors over time, which, they're shitty in all industries, shitty in all walks of life, they can ruin it for you. As a kid
Yeah.
like that, they can ruin your outlook. They can take your passion from you on something that you really enjoy doing. And I think that's what happened to my brother.
Yeah.
But he was a good wrestler too, so um for me, once they had opened that door of playing music, I ran track, I played football in junior high or in middle school. um got on the wrestling team because that, and most of the stuff was through Tony would end up. I was always i was never the me first person. Tony was very outgoing. Tony was very just never afraid to express himself, never
The
afraid.
trailblazer of sorts,
The
huh? Like
trailblazer.
he
He was
wanted
the
to do something
trail
and he
the
would go.
trailblazer of the kids. Alma was next in line. Tony would do it because he was curious. My sister would do it because she had to. I wouldn't fucking do it unless my parents were telling me to do it. If you tell me I have to go shake his hand, then I'll go shake his hand. But
Okay.
I'm gonna stay right here behind my mama's leg.
Yeah.
That's where I'm nice and comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like that until I was about, I don't know, 12 maybe. Between 12 and 15, there's some significant things. I mean, yeah, puberty, but just some things socially. And I guess it's, with anybody during that time frame. But I feel like I really came out of my shell up to 15. And then once I started marching drum corps at 17, that's where I think that's where I didn't necessarily have to come out of my shell, but that's where my ego started to just grow out of control, man.
That seems
Um,
valid.
so because of that, with that, when I talk about being, I would call myself an accomplished musician. Having been able to march drum corps, um, I did the auditions, I did the solo and ensembles, I did one of the cool ones actually. Me, Desi, and Jeff Gutierrez. Mr. Jordan found a snare trio, and it wasn't, nothing. We're talking. I'm in the seventh grade, they're in the eighth grade. It's obviously not that difficult, but just getting to get each of the three of us to work as one brain, and for the three of us to be able to not only work on that project, but put it together and perform it together. I thought that was really cool. I think we actually got to do that trio at a concert because we got
Ooh.
a we got a one on it as an ensemble. And so we were able to play that piece for everybody. Um, I think the kids who got ones for solo and ensemble had the option. They didn't force you to do it, but if you wanted to play your solo or your ensemble, that you were given the opportunity to do that, which looking back on it now is an excellent way to get us in front of people, to get us out of our shell, out of our comfort zones for being intimidated, being in front of a group of people. You know what I mean? So I think that's what kind of helped my decision to march drum corps or to even audition for drum corps was I got comfortable playing in front of people.
Mm,
I got comfortable playing by myself in front of an instructor to do solo and ensemble. I'm not saying I wasn't nervous. My knees were probably knocking, my feet were probably tapping on the floor out of time because I'm so freaking nervous, but you did it. You know
mhm.
what I mean? Like you looked that horse in the face and you were able to perform and do those things. But like you said, you didn't know what you didn't know because you were only experienced to the junior high band in Elk City. You saw the high school band when you were young. Then your brother got into Fairmont, West Virginia, at West Fairmont High School with that band program that was pretty good. They had gone to some bigger competitions and started to win some category trophies and stuff like that. They had the whole color guard set up. Like that was my understanding of what a high school band program looks like. And then you end up in Roswell, New Mexico, and it's not funded the same. It's not supported the same, and you don't go to nearly as many competitions because it's just out in the middle of nowhere. I don't know how it was in Pocatello, but out in Roswell, New Mexico, you don't have any support. You're on, and it's a lot like what you and I learned secularly. You're on that little island. Nobody is coming to save you.
Yeah.
If you don't figure it out for yourself on that little patch of land that you're on, the nearest town is 3 hours. Good luck.
Good luck.
Good luck figuring it out. So the story about the tape and how we got it is for another day, but I got that drum corps tape of 92 finals. Saw the first show I ever saw was 92 Madison, and it was the drum break for 92 Madison with the cymbals in front of them on the floor. I think it was 95 where they had the cymbals in front and behind,
Hmm
all that noise. But 92 was the one where they were playing on each other's drums and they had the cymbals on their backs in front of them holding the cymbals up. I saw that show. I saw the Cavies 92 show and fell in love. That's one of my
Dude.
favorite shows. And the drum break for the 92 Crossman.
Oh, dude.
Star that year had a couple of good excerpts, but it wasn't as captivating as the 92 Cavi show for me anyway. And
Yeah.
part of it is because they did a little snippet. Um, Jeff, what's his name? God dang it, I can see it in my head. The percussion,
Fiedler
Jeff Fiedler. Jeff
for the cabbies,
Fiedler,
right?
yeah, as the caption head, they did a little snippet in the PBS broadcast that year that showed the cavies broken down without horns. And oh, it's so freaking. If I can find the link, I want to put that link down here too.
Good.
Um, Cavies 92, and I want specifically that little snippet with Jeff Fiedler. But that's what I saw. And then so at the end, I saw somebody, it was a solo, a contra solo in a trooper's uniform.
Mm.
And I thought, well, that's interesting. So then I kind of went, that was for that time period, the rabbit hole that I went down. You start looking up phone numbers and you start looking up addresses and you start calling them. So I called the DCI number, got information for different drum corps, found out or mapped out actually where all these different drum corps are from. Started figuring out that the Troopers is the closest one to me in New Mexico, but the one I really want to try out for is in Rosemont, Illinois with the
Oh,
Cavies.
Rosemont, Illinois.
Because I think in my pea brain 15-year-old head that I'm going to be able to hang with the 92 Cavies. but you don't realize you don't know what you don't
You don't
know
know.
until you get there.
Hmm.
But here's what I think is cool. I was 15 years old, actively trying to raise money to get a plane ticket to go audition for this thing that I have no clue is completely, and when I say completely out of my scope, go back to that little league scenario that you were talking about. Little league versus the NBA, little league versus the NFL. I have no clue that I am completely out of my element being there, but how thankful I am that I went so that I could see and remove that ignorance of this is where you have to get. This is
Hmm.
what you got to do. And so I felt naked in a way because there were no percussion instructors anywhere around me. I'm in Roswell, New Mexico, dude. Albuquerque is 186 miles. Lubbock is 3 hours. El Paso is 3 hours. Even if I could find somebody at New Mexico State and Las Cruces, that's 2.5 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
The college is a community college in Roswell, so they don't have a music program to speak of, and definitely not a percussion instructor at the level that I need. You know what I mean? So Mario Cordova, Mr. Cordova, he used to have a belt buckle that said jazz. And I loved just the fact that he had that belt buckle that said jazz. Because that was everything you needed to know about Mr. Cordova. He had this badass, it was like a, if I remember right, it was a pearl white and with uh, gold hardware drum set. And it was
Really?
just the most beautiful thing. And he could fucking play, dude.
You could
Mr.
throw it down, huh?
Cordova, Mr. Cordova could throw down, man. So somebody, Mr. Jordan, I'm pretty sure was like, hey, if you're looking for somebody who can help you, Mr. C knows how to throw down. He can get you to a point at least.
Where
He
was
may not
Mr.
be.
C at?
He was in Dexter. He was
Oh,
the band director for Dexter High School.
interesting.
So Mr. J helps me out, hooks me up with Mr. C, Mr. Cordova, and I meet him, and he's 5 feet, you know, joyful, jolly, and just really has this passion for music, dude.
Hmm.
Awesome little guy. And so I remember getting the music. It was the 95 music from Troopers. So uh, got the money for the Cavaliers camp. That whole camp bombed. There was like I would say 40 people realistically. 40 people in the snare room and they've got 10 snares set up. And so they put you in a flight. One, two, three, four. Let's just say there's 4 flights of 10. And then they start flip-flopping you. Okay, you go sit down. Let me see you here. Okay, you go. So they start shortening down this flight of 40 down to, maybe 20 people. They'll flip-flop flights and interchange people and mix people. And pretty soon I realize I'm on the fourth flight. I've been sitting in this seat for a while.
You're like, you haven't called me up in a while, guy.
This seat is warm, I can assure you. And it got to the point where they
Oh,
don't even
Daniel.
care. They don't even care that I'm in the room.
Oh, jeez.
So I was like, well, I'm gonna go check out the bass room because I know by this point I'm not making it. I
Mm.
go sit in the bass room. Maybe there's something in there. I go sit in the quad room. Maybe they're doing something on quads on six drums
Oh,
that I've never
jeez.
seen in my life
Yeah.
that would be kind of cool. And sure enough, so I'm like, okay, so I'm not making it with cavies. And I remember Sam's reaction when I told him I wanted to go audition, that it was one of disbelief. He was like, "Go ahead, take your trip. Call me when you're done." So I ended up back in Casper. Rode the bus. Let's see, my parents brought me up to Albuquerque. We met at Monsanto High School, and I remember meeting Ray Leva because Ray Leva was from Albuquerque.
Hmm.
He went. I think he. maybe he didn't go to Monsanto High School, but I remember he was one of the first ones that I met, and we rode the bus to Casper, and
So this is for the 95 season, huh?
this is for the '95 season. And so again, uh, I had the music that they sent me to try out on snare, and there was some of the notation that I didn't even know. I didn't know what a ping was. Me and Mr. C were trying to figure out what the fuck is a ping. You know, it's a shot, but we didn't know it's pulled back on the rim with an inch and a half of the shoulder of the
Right.
stick, you know. So um, playing off to the right hand, left hand side of the drum, there was just a lot of the notation that I had never seen to know what am I supposed to be doing musically on the drum. So we worked through some of that stuff, me and Mr. C, but he was a jazz guy. His
Yeah.
belt buckle said so.
It's his he's advertising.
His and I don't think I think he had some contacts, but it wasn't very deep in the drum corps world at that time because it wasn't, for us where we were at geographically, you had to be somebody like or somewhere like Lubbock or El Paso or just a bigger city,
Yeah.
Albuquerque, I'm sure we would have found somebody at UNM, but I didn't know anybody
Right.
to get plugged into that network. So um, finally auditioned for, so that year, 95, hey, we have an opportunity for you to carry bottom bass and play down notes and unisons if that's really what you want to do. And I was like, by the end of camp, like I had a broken spirit by the end of that camp because it was the most difficult thing that I had ever tried to do in my life. And I just felt like a failure and didn't have that much of an ego at 15 to want to persevere, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. You know what I mean? Like I felt like I had to be good enough going in and kind of kept that mentality for a lot of things. You have to be at a certain level to even get to here before we can progress. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
didn't feel like I had that in 95. I didn't have any motivation to carry the biggest drum on the field. And thank God I didn't, dude. Having to experience the wind in Casper and then dude, I would have came out of there a beast if I'd have marched that year,
Yeah.
But
Wouldn't that have been interesting
if I would have started
had
before
you
you,
marched 95?
if I would have been the one showing you the ropes up front, that would have
That
been,
that would have been a wild story, dude.
dude, that's in a parallel universe. In a parallel universe somewhere. I started before you did. So anyway, there was all the years of marching, 97 to 2000 that I marched. I marched in 2000 on snare drum, which this is basically what I told Sam because Sam didn't want me to play snare that year either. And I was
Wait,
like, this
which
is
year? 90
in 2000,
2000.
in 2000, in 2000 I could play. In 2000 I could play, and I said I wanted to play snare drum, and he said maybe, and that's where I told him I've played bass drum for you for the last, which wasn't necessarily for him, but I said I've committed to playing the bass line for the last 3 years. I took on the leadership role as section leader after Jason in '98. I've done the things that you have asked me to do. This is the one thing that I'm asking you. He's like, all right, you can play snare. So yes,
Yeah.
so that was a good experience for me. I still have that cowbell. We had it was America from West Side Story, and I liked it was a Dave Weckl interpretation that they wrote
Ooh,
that had
nice.
it had some pretty cool cowbell stuff that year.
Nice.
So came home mid-season there. It was that year before the season started that I got married, and she was pregnant with that's a whole story. One of the kids, both mothers were pregnant with both kids, so that's a whole nother episode. Um,
Dang, Daniel.
all that ego and all that confidence.
So
Um,
was that the reason you had to leave mid-season? Can you get into that, or you want to
I
not
would
get into that?
rather not get entirely into that, but there were problems that were happening at home that we when we sat and talked, we figured that the best way to handle it was to come home mid-season. I talked to Sam about it, and kind of everybody was on the same page. Being that there was already a child involved and there was another one on the way, and the commitment to get married, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you're getting yourself into. You have an idea. You have the example of the parents around you. Her parents were married. My parents were married.
You're
But
supposed to get
you,
married. Yeah.
like you said when you were talking about the difficulty in finishing your degree, you've got to give time as a husband. You've got to give time as a student. You've got to give time as a father. You've got to give time as an employee. That was when I started with uh, the transportation and logistics company. Anybody that knows you and me knows that company.
Yeah.
But that's when I started there in Ogden, Utah, and you don't understand what hard work is until you've done it with a company like that. And I remember specifically that was one of the phone calls that I made to my dad because I remember my dad's job. It was odd hours of the night. It was cold. It was hot. It was just every condition that you could have. He was out there in it. And his job was 6 on, 3 off. So you had to work 6 days straight or
Mm.
be on call for 6 days. So if they would have a job that took them out into the field, they could be out there for 4 days straight on location.
Oh,
And when they got done, they get back to wherever they're based out of, get to take a shower at the shop and they're on their way home. As soon as my dad puts his boots down by the door and goes to the kitchen to get something, the phone rings again. Tony, we need you to go back out. There he goes. Another 2 days out in the field. So there was a rule in my house. That first day, you don't make noise. Dad's sleeping, and you do not wake up dad for anything. So hold off on it until your dad's awake and has had some food and some coffee and has his wits about him before you start blasting on him. So yeah, 32 years I think is what my dad did. 32 or 33 years with that company.
geez Louise.
And I was
That's a
just that
commitment, dude.
that text message that I sent you the other day, um and I mean this is what every working person goes through. You don't realize the sacrifices that your parents made in the working world until you have had your job, until you have a full-time job, until you have to deal with the customers, until you have to deal with the employees, until you have to deal with the bosses and all the difficult aspects that come with whatever job it is that you chose. You don't know what you don't know in that situation.
Yeah.
And so any heads up that you can get to not be blindsided by life is always good to have. But just to finish my intro, married, divorced twice. I raised, well, we can call it one kid of my own. I have two kids of my own. Um, and then I helped raise the twins, the little humans, um, with a longtime girlfriend that I had. And so, I still consider them my children. Um, that's a whole nother when the relationship stops, what do you do with the kids? They're not biologically yours, but you've been brought up with them. They've been brought up with you. That's a tough one. I mean, there's no right or wrong answer for that one either.
Now they're
I
still
think
kind of part of you, though. They're a
situationally,
part of your growth.
everybody deals with it the way they see fit. Some people cut it off completely and never talk to them again. Some
Yeah.
people stay involved moderately. Some people stay involved heavily. And I think it's just a matter of whatever works for that dynamic, that group of people. And then the last thing I think that was not important about me, but just has helped shape who I am is getting into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I have a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and have gotten to work and learn from some pretty cool people. And, right now I'm on a hiatus because of this whole gout thing. If anybody's ever had or
Mm.
experienced the pain of having gout, It's no joke.
Can't
But
imagine.
trying to figure out how to get myself back in there, you know. Um, but yeah, those are the points about me and Jason that I thought were interesting to have pointed out to kind of set the framework, the infrastructure for the type of podcast that we're doing. Um, Obviously, we said a couple times that we met when we marched troopers in 1997, but I think we things got fast forwarded because of the amount of time we spent together. Usually, when you're friends with somebody, unless you spend every day together with them, like I have a different relationship with my friend Jeff because we lived in the same city. So we spent a lot of time between ages like 13 and 15. Whenever he started driving, is really when he started to have a life and a girlfriend, and he could drive himself around. I didn't have a car. So the dynamic for that portion of the relationship changed a little. But when we were both on bikes, we saw each other all the time. He would ride to
Hmm.
my house, I would ride to his house. We were always together in the summer times, together a lot at school and stuff. So being together in drum corps was different though. You had to eat together, you had to sleep. We slept five bases in a line, four bases in a line, whatever the setup that was that year for the cohesive aspect, using the restroom together. One, two, three, four, five. That was something that everybody knew. Here comes the baseline, clear out these five stalls for
Hmm.
whatever. They knew that was happening because that's what we had established for ourselves. That was the respect that we wanted to be commanded as a unit, that I thought was interesting, that we drove that. People respected it
Yeah.
because they didn't have that in their sections. They didn't have that with their own group of people. You know what I mean? So I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, just I felt like all those years that you were around in drum corps, I got a big brother figure out of it, that you shared enough interest in me to try to curb me from doing the things detrimental to my growth, to my betterment, that I feel like you were there for those things. And I've always appreciated and respected that about that aspect of what started our relationship, because I think that's played back and forth several times in whatever phase of life we were in. Whoever needed the lift up to the next ledge has always given it,
Yeah.
and without question. So I thought that was special to me growing up. 2009, when I told you to move to New Mexico, making a decision to even propose that to you. Hey, I need you to take your life and your kids and your family, and I need you to uproot everybody and move 1,800 miles away. Is it 1,800, 1,300? That's a lot. It's an 18-hour drive is what it is.
It's yeah. Yeah, that's what
It's
I
an
don't know the
18-hour drive.
miles. I know the time.
Yeah, so I need you to take you and your wife and your family, and I need you to trust me in what I'm telling you. I need you to help see the vision that I see, even if you don't see it. I just need you to trust me on this. And how, in a sense, insane. That's insanity.
It's quite a stretch.
It's a stretch. I don't know that I would have done it. I don't know if Jason said, "Hey, I need you to pack everything up and move down here. I got this opportunity." I don't know that I would have done it. We'll never know. But if that ever came across,
It, it
you
just
know,
it was just it was just right. It was it was a sense of adventure. It was a sense of opportunity. It was a sense of reconnecting with you and what you had going on in your life. It was just the right things lining up at the right time.
I think I felt like an adult right around that time, like starting to feel comfortable making adult decisions. And I think I was reading, maybe that was around the time that I had read The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah, Stephen Covey. I
and
remember that.
started pulling all of those stop signs out from in front of myself, starting believing in myself a little bit more. Because I mean, up to that point, I had made some fucking mistakes. You know what I mean? There were some horrible choices that I had made, and maybe not so far as to call them mistakes, but I had made some horrible choices. That goes without saying. But I feel like right around the time that I said, Jason, pack up all your shit and let's go. Trust me on this. I feel like I have my life enough together to encourage another human being to trust me. I don't I don't need you to see what I can see, but I just need you to step. And how many times do we come across those pivotal moments where we stood down instead? You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
was that Hail Mary that we threw, dude. Nobody knew that would work. Nobody knew that
Right.
would work, but I was crazy enough to think that it would because I thought, I know you don't have a job. I know you don't have a place to stay. I know you don't have, and I wasn't worried about any of that because in my head, I was making good enough money to provide you a place to stay, feed you, and get you a foot in the door for an opportunity if we can get that far. If we can get far, so I'm going to hold the rock, right? If I can get far enough to get you with me, we can move this rock. I don't have to just hold it. We can move this fucking thing together.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought. So yeah, I didn't think you would say yes. I was surprised you said yes when you did, but I remember how happy I was when we started making airline reservations
Hmm.
and figuring out, okay, I'll be in Albuquerque on this day to
Pick you
pick
up
you
in
up.
Albuquerque.
This was like a Tuesday,
Yeah.
was it not? Tuesday, Wednesday?
I think so.
And by Saturday, you were on a plane. And by Monday, you were at work sitting next to me,
Yeah.
employed,
Yeah.
like starting the clock on your new career.
Yeah, dude.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. You look, you you earned my trust for you back in 1997.
Really?
I trusted you then because what we went through, our experience, and I've trusted you since. And I still trust you. You're
That's
that
great.
kind of guy. You're that kind of guy.
That's
You're
awesome.
trustable. I love you, buddy.
I love you too, Jay. That's awesome. Um, so the Hail Mary led to you going back to Idaho. And then, so yeah, I mean, we've kept in touch pretty well ever since I feel like 2009 I mean, obviously once you got up here, there were times that I couldn't go down and see you in Hobbs. There were times that you guys lived in Lovington, but I would stop
Yeah.
on the way in, on the way down, whenever I had business down there and I had the opportunity to go see you, I would try to do that. And then even after you guys moved out of there, I've been to Idaho one time. But I'm glad I went. I'm glad I went this last time.
Yeah.
And there you can bet your ass there's gonna be another brisket smoking fucking
Oh,
video that we
dude.
put together, dude.
Hey,
So
and
we'll get
wherever it
to
is.
put a pin in that one because I want to ask you about the new venture up in Lava.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, why it's important to me that the podcast is done with this friendship. Why this friendship is so important to me. I think we've covered a lot of it already, but life can be difficult enough as is. Um, it's always good to have somebody that you know, somebody that you trust to lean on if there's a lot of times that you don't know what to do. You don't know what is going on. You don't know where do I need to pivot. You don't know how to carry the load. You don't know how to shoulder the load that's just been given to you with decisions that other people have made. It's not like you or I have any special credentials or qualifications or specializations that make us any industry experts in making decisions in life or anything like that. I mean, it's been trial and error. We're just two regular dudes, two regular dads, two regular employees, two regular people that have taken the thumps on the head enough times to know, hey, well, maybe I shouldn't fucking do that again. Let's not let's not do that thing that caused a giant loss.
Don't have to tell me twice.
And
Shit.
sometimes we do it anyway
Yeah.
because we didn't learn, you know, natural human response. But um people can relate to regular human beings. And I've, just been watching videos on TikTok and YouTube videos and shit like that. That's all it is. It's regular ass people doing things.
Yeah.
So this was our thing. We
Yep.
put a thing together, Jay.
It's the thing.
Um, one of these days we're not gonna be around. And I think about that with your parents, with my parents, with my kids, with my siblings, with everybody that's important to me. One day the clock's gonna run out.
Yep.
And I thought this would be an interesting way to document lots of things for all the people that want to relive it with us, that want to experience us, that we care about, that they care about us. You'll have videos, like me and my dad sat and I asked him some a little more pointy questions, about his life and we got to talk about those things and I recorded it and we agreed that it's not for everybody to see, but I thought it was cool to be able to sit and document, how he grew
Yep.
up and how he experienced his life through
Yep.
his eyes. We know the story the way we experienced it, but what did they, you know, uh the time I graduated, what were you feeling? What were you feeling that day that I was graduating? I thought I was on top of the world. I thought I knew everything. You know what I mean? And here's your parents saying, "I'm scared to death that my kid wants to drive from New Mexico to Wyoming and then stay gone all summer." You know? Like
Yep.
we don't see what were my parents thinking letting me drive I was 16 when I drove to my first camp in Casper. I was
Wow.
16 years old, dude. And me and Gus Quintero drove 13 hours to Casper. I think it was Dean Morgan Junior High
Teen
for our
Morgan.
first camp ever. I remember we had a bunch of camps there at Dean Morgan.
It was Dean
One,
Morgan, the one that had the rattly AC unit that sounded like a
uh-huh.
rhythm.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought I was playing quads, and I went to every camp carrying 70 pounds worth of quads, thinking I was playing quads.
You're not playing quads, bud.
So yeah, dude, the legacy that I want us to leave, not only for ourselves, but just as friends also. I want people to see this friendship, but also to experience you. Why do I hold this person in such high regard? I want people to see that about you. And it's just hard to get all your friends together. It is,
It is.
Um, a bunch of the guys that I went to college with, they recently went to Seattle to go to one of the World Cup games.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then, you know, I got invited to join them in Ruidoso, but I think that's going to interfere with my desired trip to go to. I was already planning on going to Dallas to see Boston Crusaders
Mm-hmm.
to go see the 26 drum line.
Oh, dude.
But
They're not
uh,
sounding too bad, but
yeah, so it just gives us an opportunity to leave something behind. You know what I mean? I've always admired seeing the interactions that you have with other people because I think a lot of us have biases. A lot of us have just like if I get bad juju from somebody, I don't want to approach them. I don't want to have just don't want to have anything to do with them. You know what I mean? Jason will go talk to that person. Jason will go learn random facts about that person and their life and share it with others and show what it is to be just a good human. You know what I mean? No bias, no judgment, no nothing. Jason is the person that does that. That's why I thought it was important to have you on here. You ask a lot of good questions in dissecting and exploring all these different topics that you and I have talked about over the years. You ask a lot of good questions or have a lot of good explanations when I've had questions about things. Just learning about the similarities and differences of our religious backgrounds. I can remember countless conversations that we've had into the night that I had questions, and you're just walking me through the book, walking me through how you were taught, how you were brought up, what you believe, and the ability to have differences, the ability to see the difference from how you live your life and I live my life, but that's okay. There's
Yeah,
nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with believing what you believe and seeing how you see it and uh experiencing that life through that lens. That's your life. You're allowed to do that.
yeah,
I feel like we understand and embody the true meaning of friendship and brotherhood, having worked alongside each other in music, secularly, and in a family setting. We've seen the good, bad, and the ugly. We've seen, uh, you know, the other people experience loss. We've seen each other have to make tough decisions. And what decision did they make? And what do we learn from it?
mhm,
You had to leave Hobbs. I had to leave Roswell. Decisions got made.
yeah,
Things had to happen, and you got to be comfortable with life and the situations going on around it. But I think I've taken comfort in knowing that you're going to help me figure things out, even if it's just to sit in the chair and repeat the problem with me because you got no clue either.
yeah,
You know, just having somebody to not shoulder the entire load with
mm,
is huge. And
yeah,
so that goes back to where we were talking earlier that some people don't have that person. Some people don't have any people like that. Is it, for a multitude of reasons, bad relationships, torn relationships over time, whatever. I mean, some people don't have that. Some people don't have the luxury of having that, you know,
yeah. They feel
for
like they
whatever
want to give
reason.
up. Like there's no reason in continuing. A lot of
Yeah.
times.
Yeah. And that, I mean, has been an experience also where people give up,
Yeah,
people, the weight of the world got to be too much for them, unfortunately. But we told you all of that to tell you this. I thought it would be fun. I thought it would be exciting. And I thought it would be beneficial to more people than just Jason and me to do this and to figure out what do we want to talk about? What avenues do we want to explore? What advice do we think we might have to give? Or what types of things would we like to learn from other people? So, the name of the podcast is The Infinite Unknowns, plural, because of the galaxy's infinite vast, but the multitude of unknowns that we don't even know. We don't
yeah,
even know what we don't know. All the at the next level, what is, I try to talk to my dad as much as I can about his experiences in retirement. For me, that's the next place that I'm headed, the next place that I want to try to live and be comfortable there. What is he going through? What advice does he have for me in getting there? And what can I've been trying to share with some of the people at work? Here's what got me to where I am, and here's some of the pitfalls you need to watch out for if you're going to stay on this path. Some people might not stay on it.
yeah,
Some people are going to find their stepping stone elsewhere. Some people have found their stepping stone elsewhere. So I just thought if there's anybody that wants to join in, subscribe, hit like, give me a heart, throw me a smiley face, do one for Jay, send Jay the little kiss emoji. Jason loves kisses. But no, we just want to get as many people on board that share a like mind. Have thoughts about anything. So if you want to kill some time, find out what troubles everybody else has. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's my final thought too.
it's all life.
Is what is one thing, or not one thing? What's a handful of things you think are things not being talked about enough, and maybe they can drop some comments and some ideas and to what's not being discussed that needs to be discussed. What do we need to shed some more light on and
Yeah,
get more out in the open to work through some things because we're all
yeah,
going through it. So
I
let's help each
agree.
other out.
Yeah, Jason and I already have a pretty comprehensive list of topics that we want to discuss. And like I said, it's not going to be a a limit per se. I would say that we're going to be, as careful as we can with maybe some more controversial topics, um, and some things that we might not want to throw shade on. Um, Discussions that maybe we think should be had more with, our own people or face to face or something like that. But we want to leave it pretty open and make this a place where people can just come and get a little bit of support, get some
Yeah,
encouragement, find some strength in knowing you're not the only one going through it, and it's going to take some work to go through it. You're going to need to find an inspiration, a strength to get through what you're going through right now because life is just ups and downs. It's just that big sine wave back and forth. Sometimes you're at the top, sometimes you're at the bottom. When you're at the bottom, you need to figure out how to get back to the top and learn how to enjoy it when you're at the top. I know a lot of people are afraid to truly experience happiness based on everything that's happened to them. Like, oh, well, we're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Well, that's just life. Enjoy it
yeah,
while you can. Enjoy it while you can, and deal with it when you have to. So that's all I got, Jay. I don't know if you have anything to add, but
that's it. I think sometimes we feel like uh there's a reason when we're going uphill a motor, like if we're on a motorized vehicle, there's a reason it struggles a little bit when you're going uphill.
yeah,
It's because it's tough.
yeah,
Gravity's working against us, and sometimes it feels like we might be going uphill more than we're going downhill. But in order to go downhill, we got to get uphill a little bit.
yeah,
So we got to get it through and shed some light on these tough topics that are coming up. So I'm interested to look at more of these topics we've talked about and get some more ideas too and move on forward.
right on. Well, we appreciate anybody who's stuck around this far. Um, we're just going to try to do this on an as able basis. We want to keep the passion in it. We want to keep the ability to do it as easy as possible for both Jay and I. So we'll put out episodes as we see fit, as we need to. We'll try to do it consistently, but just understanding we have jobs, we have places to be, people to help appease, and uh, but I wanted to add this on as an opportunity for everybody so that we can try to collaborate on some cool things and live a partially better life if we can bring a little bit of sunshine to your dark day. So,
Absolutely. Well said.
all right. Well, I appreciate your time, Jay. I'm going to cut the recording right here and then what